In the dim glow of the Navy's annual honor ceremony, Admiral Harlan "Hawk" Whitaker, a grizzled SEAL legend with more medals than years left to live, locked eyes with a quiet rookie officer whose simple act of kindness was about to unravel a secret buried deeper than any classified mission. If you love your mom and dad, hit that subscribe button and show some love to her. The grand ballroom of the Washington Navy Yard shimmered under crystal chandeliers, its walls lined with portraits of admirals long gone and flags that had flown over battlefields from Normandy to Fallujah. The air buzzed with the low hum of conversation, the clink of champagne glasses, and the occasional bark of laughter from old salts swapping war stories. At the center of it all stood Admiral Harlan Whitaker, his dress blues crisp despite the weight of 78 years and a body that had taken more punishment than most men could imagine. His white hair was cropped close, his jaw set like the hull of a destroyer, and his eyes, sharp, piercing, the kind that could spot a sniper's glint at 1,000 yards, scanned the room with practiced precision. He was a man who'd seen it all, the chaos of Vietnam, the dust of Desert Storm, the shadows of covert ops in places the public would never know. Tonight, though, was about ceremony, not combat. Or so he thought. Across the room, a young lieutenant junior grade moved with quiet purpose. Lieutenant Emily Carter, barely 26, was a rookie by every measure, fresh out of Annapolis, her gold bars still gleaming with the polish of inexperience. Her auburn hair was pulled into a tight bun, regulation perfect, and her uniform fit like it was tailored by the gods of military precision. She wasn't loud, wasn't flashy, didn't crave the spotlight like some of her peers who were already angling for the admiral's attention. Emily kept to the edges, her hazel eyes observant but guarded, her movements deliberate. She was the kind of officer who blended into the background, until she didn't. Harlan noticed her first because of the veteran. Master Chief Petty Officer Raymond "Ray" Donnelly, a retired SEAL who'd served under Harlan in the Gulf War, was struggling to navigate the crowded room in his wheelchair. Ray's legs were gone below the knees, a souvenir from an IED in Kuwait, and his pride kept him from asking for help. But the wheels of his chair caught on the edge of a rug, and he teetered, his face twisting in frustration. Before anyone else could react, Emily was there. She didn't hesitate, didn't make a scene. She simply knelt, steadied the chair, and offered her arm. "Let me help you, Master Chief," she said, her voice soft but firm. Ray grumbled but took her arm, and together they moved toward a quieter corner where he could sit with dignity. Harlan's eyes narrowed. Something about the way she moved, the economy of motion, the way her hand rested lightly but confidently on Ray's arm, stirred a memory. Then he saw it, a faint scar, barely visible above the collar of her uniform, just below her left ear. It was thin, jagged, the kind of mark left by shrapnel or a blade. Harlan froze, his champagne glass halfway to his lips. He'd seen that scar before. Not in a hospital, not in a report, but in a moment seared into his soul. His heart thudded, a rhythm he hadn't felt since his last firefight. "Admiral, you all right?" Captain Mike Brennan, Harlan's aide and a SEAL in his own right, leaned in, his brow furrowed. Harlan didn't answer. He was already moving, weaving through the crowd with the single-minded focus of a man on a mission. Emily was helping Ray settle into a chair, her back to the room, oblivious to the storm bearing down on her. "Lieutenant Carter," Harlan barked, his voice cutting through the din like a .50 caliber round. Emily straightened, snapping to attention with a precision that would have made a drill instructor weep. Ray looked up, confused, then recognition dawned. "Hawk Whitaker," he muttered, a grin tugging at his weathered face. "Didn't know you were stalking rookies now." Harlan ignored him, his eyes locked on Emily. "That scar," he said, pointing to her neck. "Where'd you get it?" Emily's composure flickered, just for a second. Her hand twitched toward the scar, then dropped. "Training accident, sir," she said, her voice steady but clipped. "Annapolis. Nothing serious." Harlan's gut twisted. She was lying. He knew it like he knew the tide. "Bullshit," he said, loud enough to draw stares. I've seen that scar before, Lieutenant. Kandahar, 2011. You were there. The room seemed to still, the weight of Harlan's words sucking the air from the space. Emily's face paled, but she didn't flinch. With respect, sir, you're mistaken. I wasn't in Kandahar. I was in high school in 2011. Ray's eyes darted between them, sensing the tension. Hawk, what the hell's this about? Harlan didn't answer. His mind was racing, piecing together fragments of a memory he tried to bury. Kandahar. A night op gone to hell. A CIA operative, a woman, codenamed Sparrow, who'd saved his team from an ambush. She'd taken a blade to the neck diverting a Taliban fighter, leaving a scar just like that one. Sparrow had vanished after the mission, her file sealed tighter than a submarine hatch. Harlan had never forgotten her. And now, standing in front of him, was a woman with her scar, her eyes, her voice. Lieutenant, Harlan said, his voice low, dangerous. We need to talk. Now. Emily's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Yes, sir. They moved to a small antechamber off the ballroom, the noise of the ceremony fading behind them. Harlan closed the door, his mind a whirlwind. Start talking, Carter. Who are you, really? Emily took a breath, her eyes meeting his with a defiance that bordered on reckless. I'm Lieutenant Emily Carter, sir. Annapolis, class of 2022. Assigned to Naval Intelligence. That's my file. I don't give a damn about your file, Harlan snapped. That scar. That mission. You were Sparrow. Emily's laugh was sharp, almost bitter. Sir, I'm 26. In 2011, I was 16, cheering at high school football games in Ohio. You've got the wrong person. But Harlan wasn't buying it. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a growl. I don't forget faces, Lieutenant. Especially not ones that saved my life. You pulled me out of that alley in Kandahar. You took that knife for me. Emily's eyes flashed, and for the first time, Harlan saw something break through her calm, anger, maybe fear. You're confused, Admiral. Maybe too many years in the field. I'm not your ghost. The standoff lasted seconds, but it felt like hours. Then the door burst open, and Captain Brennan stormed in, his face grim. Admiral, we've got a problem. Intel just picked up chatter, someone's leaking classified ops from that 2011 mission. Names, locations, everything. They're saying it's an inside job. Harlan's blood ran cold. The Kandahar mission was a ghost, buried so deep even most SEALs didn't know it happened. If someone was talking, it wasn't just a breach, it was a death sentence for anyone tied to it. His eyes flicked to Emily, who looked as shocked as he felt. Lieutenant, Harlan said, his voice steady despite the chaos in his head. You're with me. We're figuring this out. Emily hesitated, then nodded. Yes, sir. The next 48 hours were a blur of secure calls, encrypted files, and sleepless nights in a SCIF beneath the Pentagon. Harlan pulled every string he had, calling in favors from old CIA contacts and SEAL teammates who owed him their lives. Emily was at his side, her quiet efficiency unnerving. She decrypted files faster than analysts with twice her experience, spotted patterns in the chatter that others missed. But every time Harlan pressed her about the scar, she shut down, deflecting with a skill that screamed training. The breakthrough came on the third day. A name surfaced in the leaked files, E. Carter. Not Emily, Elizabeth Carter, the CIA operative known as Sparrow. Harlan confronted Emily in the SCIF, slamming a grainy photo on the table. It was Sparrow, mid-mission, her face half obscured by night vision goggles, but the scar was unmistakable. Explain this, Harlan demanded. Emily stared at the photo, her face unreadable. Then, slowly, she reached up and touched the scar. You want the truth, Admiral? Fine. But you're not going to like it. She told him everything. Elizabeth Carter was her mother, a CIA legend who'd vanished after Kandahar, presumed dead. Emily had grown up in Ohio, raised by her grandparents, believing her mother was a diplomat killed in a car accident. But when Emily joined the Navy, she'd stumbled across sealed files, her mother's files. The scar. A genetic quirk, passed down like eye color. Emily had never been to Kandahar, but she'd inherited her mother's mark, her mother's talent, and, unknowingly, her mother's enemies. The leak, Emily said, her voice steady but laced with pain. It's not random. Someone's trying to draw me out. They know who I am, who my mother was. They think I have her files, her contacts. Harlan leaned back, stunned. The rookie he'd pegged as a liar was a pawn in a game she hadn't even known she was playing. But there was more. The chatter pointed to a mole inside naval intelligence, someone close to Emily. And the clock was ticking, another leak was imminent, one that could expose dozens of operatives still in the field. Harlan made a call. You're off the grid, Lieutenant. You're with me until we find this bastard. The hunt took them from D.C. to a safe house in Virginia, then to a dusty airstrip in North Carolina. Emily proved herself again and again, her instincts razor-sharp, her courage undeniable. But the twists kept coming. The mole wasn't just a traitor, they were personal. Commander James Vega, Emily's mentor in intelligence, the man who'd handpicked her for her assignment, was selling secrets to a foreign power. He'd known about Elizabeth Carter, had been obsessed with her legend, and saw Emily as his ticket to her mother's rumored cache of intel. The final confrontation went down in a warehouse on the outskirts of Norfolk. Vega had Emily at gunpoint, ranting about legacy and power, when Harlan's team breached. It was chaos, flashbangs, gunfire, the scream of orders. Emily disarmed Vega with a move so smooth it could have been choreographed, proving she was more than a rookie. But not before Vega got off a shot, grazing Harlan's shoulder. In the aftermath, as medics patched Harlan up and Vega was hauled away in cuffs, Emily stood over her former mentor, her face a mask of betrayal. You used me, she said, her voice breaking for the first time. You used my mother's name. Harlan, blood seeping through his bandage, put a hand on her shoulder. You're not her, Emily. You're better. You're you. The ceremony a week later was smaller, quieter. Harlan, still bandaged but standing tall, pinned a Navy Commendation Medal on Emily's chest. The ballroom was packed, but the loudest applause came from Ray Donnelly, who'd insisted on being there in his wheelchair. Harlan's speech was short. Lieutenant Carter reminded us what the Navy's about. Not just courage under fire, but humanity in the quiet moments. She helped a veteran walk, and in doing so, she carried us all. Emily, standing at attention, met Harlan's eyes. The scar was hidden under her collar, but they both knew what it meant now. Not a lie, but a legacy. And for the first time, Emily smiled, not the guarded smile of a rookie, but the real, unguarded grin of a woman who'd found her place. Hey, viewers, where are you watching from? Drop your state in the comments, let's see how far this story's traveled.